Tricia L. Gleason, Assistant City Clerk, you are hereby directed to call a regular session of the City Council to be held on Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the historic Federal Building for the purpose of conducting such business that may properly come before the City Council.
Good evening and welcome to a regular session of the Dubuque City Council for May 18th, 2026. As a reminder to our participants, you may provide in-person input or virtual audio and written input during the sections of the agenda where the public input is accepted. Input options during the live meeting include in-person attendees may approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any public input on the item they would like to speak to. Remote attendees may log on to GoToMeeting using the login links, phone numbers, and access code that appear on the broadcast and live stream and posted on the front page of the meeting agenda. This option includes audio input and written chat input. If you are participating via computer, indicate which item you would like to speak to in the chat function or note that you would like to speak during the appropriate section. If you are participating via phone, indicate which item you would like to speak to during the appropriate section. All comments, whether in person or virtual, must be accompanied by name and address. Additionally, written public input is accepted by contacting the City Council directly from the city's webpage at www.cityofdubuque.org/councilcontacts and through the City Clerk's office email at ctyclerk@cityofdubuque.org. This information will be reiterated during the meeting. On tonight's agenda, item number 7, under items set for public hearing, has been pulled from the agenda. Attendance for this session is as follows. Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here.
Councilmember Resnick.
Here.
Roussel. Here. Sprank.
Here.
Staver.
Here.
Wethel.
Here.
Lindecker.
Here.
City Manager Van Milligan.
Here.
City Attorney Brumwell.
Here.
Mayor Kavanaugh, I'll turn it over to you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, thank you, Trish. I invite all who are able to please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Eric, would you mind pulling the live feed off the screens, please, from that we're seeing up here? Thank you. Go ahead, Trish.
Our first item in tonight's agenda is recognition of Zoning Advisory Commissioner for 32 years of service.
Wow, 32 years, right? Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight we have the distinct honor of recognizing an individual whose service to the City of Dubuque has been both extraordinary in length and profound in impact. Zoning Advisory Commissioner Martha Christ. Martha is retiring after an incredible 32 years of volunteer service on the Zoning Advisory Commission. Now we could just say thank you and move on, but 32 years deserves a little bit more perspective. Over her time on the commission, Martha has attended more than 311 meetings. That's essentially showing up every Wednesday night for 6 straight years without missing a beat. She has dedicated at least 26,372 minutes, or 439 and a half hours to this work. That's nearly 18 full days spent in meetings, enough time to fly to Dubuque to Paris 44 times, or walk from Dubuque to San Francisco and still have energy to start heading back. And then there's the 1,369 plus projects she's reviewed. That's rezonings, text amendments, plan unit developments, subdivision plats, and site design waivers. If you stack those staff reports and plans, you'll have a paper tower that could rival the Shot Tower. Martha hasn't just been here for the meetings, she's been here for the moments that mattered. She's seen the evolution of the Unified Development Code, and she's been part of the conversation around some of Dubuque's most transformable areas, like the Millwork District, the Port of Dubuque, Chaplain Schmidt Island, Asbury Plaza, the inception and growth of our industrial parks. That's just not participation, that's a front row seat to the transformation of this community. Get a little choke up here. But what we'll remember most, excuse me, isn't the volume of work, it's how Martha approached it. She has always been a balanced and thoughtful voice. She's listened, really listened to public input, understanding that behind every application is a neighbor, a business owner, a concern, or a dream. And she never hesitated to speak up. Whether she agreed or challenged an idea, she made sure her perspective helped move the conversation forward in a meaningful way. Martha, you've been a constant to the commission, steady, thoughtful, and committed, and the truth is you will be incredibly hard to replace. We are grateful not just for your time, but for your care, your perspective, and your belief in doing this work well. On behalf of the City of Dubuque, we extend our sincere gratitude for 32 years of service and wish you all the best in your next chapter. Martha, thank you for your lasting contributions to this community. Your work will continue to shape Dubuque for generations to come. Thank you.
You look like you might want to say something, Martha. Are you sure? Thank you. You're sure? Okay, I'm giving you the chance. Yeah. You're welcome, and thank you. I do know somebody who wanted to say something to you, though, so I'll turn it to Ms. Roussel.
I did want to give a personal thank you to Martha for her dedication and 32 years of service. Wow. I worked with Martha when I was on the Zoning Advisory Commission, and we always looked to her for leadership and for great advice, and I thank you so much for your service. We will miss you. Thank you.
Wally, how long have you been with the City of Dubuque?
I've been here for 25 years, so she predates me. Actually, she predates Laura Karstens and Kyle Kritz, too.
Yeah.
Oh, Laura was just there when she started. Yeah. 32 years, though.
Yeah. Well, everybody here, you predate everybody here. So, Martha, thank you so much for your service. That takes some serious dedication from a community member to do that, to do that in a volunteer role. And I just hope you recognize just how much we and the entire community really appreciate you taking all that time and making all that effort. So, thank you for everything that you've done. We appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. All right, we can move to proclamations, Trish. Go ahead.
Okay, moving on to proclamations. Our first proclamation tonight is Public Works Week proclamation, May 17th through the 23rd.
All right, I've got a list of names here, so if you're supposed to be on this list, come on up. I'm not going to call you out. Ariel was the first one on there, and do I see Ariel? Ariel's not even here. So I'll start next. Max O'Brien. Max, you're on the list. You're supposed to be coming up. Luke, Brian, Joe, Ken, Ryan. Come on up. You'd like to say a few things about Public Works Week first, and then I can read the proclamation. Whoever you want to put in charge, Max. Please, and if you just pull the mic down a little bit so you're right in there, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, what about?
You can just say anything you like about Public Works Week before I read the proclamation, sure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I apologize. Didn't have anything prepared, but I know this week is National Public Works Week, just in recognition of public works departments across the country.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
we're here.
That's excellent. I'm so glad you're here. And you know, in true Public Works fashion, you're soft-spoken and quiet about the work that you're doing, and mostly just standing there with a smile on your face, ready to get that work done. And honestly, that is what we see in Public Works, in the work that you do here, and you do incredible work in the city of Dubuque. So thank you for everything that you do. We really do sincerely appreciate it. We appreciate the quiet confidence in getting it done. We appreciate the things that you do and the amount of it that you do. I mean, we are about to be in the season where we see you all summer long. And while there might be some moments where we're a little frustrated that we have to take a detour, we really do appreciate that detour is there and what's going to be there afterwards. So thanks for that and for everything else that you do at Public Works. And I'm glad we get to celebrate an entire week just for you. So, City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas the week of May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 has been designated as National Public Works Week by the American Public Works Association, with the theme Rooted in Service, Powered by Community, to highlight 3 cornerstone ideals that motivate public works professionals to serve in their communities and their dedication to the public health and safety, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Dubuque. Via Public Works, professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and in the private sector. And whereas it is in the public interest for the residents, civic leaders, and children of the city of Dubuque to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And whereas we urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. Now therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th to the 23rd, 2026 as Public Works Week.
Our next proclamation is National Mississippi River Day, June 2nd, 2026.
All right, I believe Jim Earls is here with a group who might be joining him as well, so whoever's with you, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, City Council. Thank you all for having us here and helping make this proclamation possible. My name is Jim Earls. I'm the program coordinator at Shalom Spirituality Center, 1001 Davis Street in Dubuque. I'm joined here this evening by a couple of Franciscan sisters, Mary Lechtenberg and Marie Seagrand, one of our Franciscan associates, Dave Heyer, and a representative from the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, Callie Boatwright. And we're so happy that you've agreed to take on this proclamation. We had a couple of oversized copies of the proclamation made and sat out for supportive signatures at the River Museum and at Mount St. Francis. I believe we got well over 100 here and probably another 60 or so supportive individuals who passed through the River Museum. So we're all very grateful that you're helping to bring a little publicity and awareness to this National Mississippi River Day, and also the couple of Indigenous women that will be joining us on June 2nd for a River Day blessing. That would be Mary Ellen Baker and her daughter Karen Donahoe, who are just amazing women from the Lakudere Ojibwe tribal group, and they will be coming in to offer some traditional ceremonial blessings on June 2nd at the River's Edge Plaza along the Mississippi River Walk. So that's the essential gist of what we're here to celebrate, along with the River Day proclamation. And anyone who's interested in that River Day blessing can please visit Shalom's website at shalomretreats.org. We are asking folks to please RSVP if they'd like to join us.
Well, Jim and everybody, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for bringing this proclamation forward and teaming with the River Museum to get it done. And what a great idea to have just the life-size portions there, to be able to have people sign that and be able to declare their desire to make sure that something like this is taken care of. You know, we talk a lot about the river and how for a while we seem to have forgotten about it in Dubuque. It was there. We knew it was there. We might go out there every once in a while, but it wasn't something that was a focus like it is today. And so much of the work that's been done to be able to get people closer to the river, have the River Museum there as the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, bring more attention to such an important, incredible resource that we have right at our doorstep. So thank you for everything that you're doing. We appreciate it, and we look forward to it continuing. So thank you for being here to accept this proclamation. City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas the Mississippi River is one of our nation's most iconic and vital waterways, spanning approximately 2,350 miles from Minnesota to Louisiana and uniting 10 mainstream states and 32 tributary states in its watershed, serving as a critical source of drinking water for over 20 million Americans, a vital habitat for diverse birds, fish, amphibians, reptiles, and other wildlife, and a powerful economic engine supporting commerce, agriculture, tourism, and recreation. And whereas the health of the Mississippi River is under threat from pollution, habitat loss, climate change, and other environmental stressors, which impact the communities and ecosystems that depend on it. And whereas the city of Dubuque recognizes that the indigenous peoples of this hemisphere have lived near what we now call the Mississippi River since time immemorial, always recognizing the profound cultural, spiritual, and ancestral significance of the river, and that Dubuque was built upon the homelands of the Iowa, Ho-Chunk, Sioux, Meskwaki, Miami, and other indigenous peoples. And whereas One Mississippi and its network of 75 organizations and 20,000 river citizens have designated June 2nd as National Mississippi River Day, urging all people to celebrate, protect, and restore the Mississippi River and its watershed by participating in events and taking action to safeguard this invaluable resource for generations to come. And whereas Dubuque residents may choose to celebrate and safeguard the Mississippi River by participating in a River Day blessing from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Tuesday, June 2nd at the River's Edge Plaza, involving an Indigenous water blessing ceremony with Mary Ellen Baker and Karen Donahoe of the Lakota Ore Ojibwe tribe. Now therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the 2nd of June, 2026 as National Mississippi River Day. Would you guys like a picture? I see Kevin with them. You want? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Come on up. We can. Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Trish.
Now we'll move on to consent items. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the consent items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there's any personal input and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function and state your name and address on the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, the city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. When speaking, please state the item you would like removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration. Consent items can be found on pages 2 through 6 of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Trish. Do we have anyone here in chambers who would like to remove any of the consent items for any separate discussion this evening? Seeing no one here. Anyone virtually? Okay. All right. Back to us then.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Wethel.
I move to receive and file the documents, adopt the resolutions, and deal with the consent items as recommended.
Second by Sprang.
Got a motion by Wethel and a second by Sprank. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye, and I would like to abstain from item number 15.
Sprank.
Aye.
All right, so we've got except for number 15, all items pass by a vote of 7-0. Item 15 passes with 6 votes and 1 abstention.
Next on the agenda are items set for public hearing. We have 6 items tonight. Item number 1, private lead service line replacement project pilot program, phase 2. Item 2, petition to vacate 20 feet alley right-of-way lying between Peru Road, Toledo Street, Excelsior Street and Walker Street for vacating petition. Petition to vacate certain street right-of-way easement in Julian Edition. Initiate public bidding process for the Asbury, Carter, and Cheney Traffic Signal Improvement Project. Southwest Arterial US 52 ITS Corridor Project initiate public bidding process. And North Schmidt Island Collection System Project Contract 2. All of these being requested to be set for June 1st, 2026.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Russell.
I move to receive and file, adopt the resolutions, and set the public hearings for June 1st.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Russell and a second by Wethel. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Moving on to public hearings. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the public hearing items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input for the public hearing you would like to speak to, and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function and state the question, and state your question or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor's ask if there is any virtual input for the public hearing that you would like to speak to. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order.
Go ahead and read number one.
Okay. Public hearing number 1, request to rezone 1836 Washington Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file, as well as I move that the requirement that the proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for the passage at 2 city council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Sprank, second by Wethel. Wally, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. The request before you tonight is rezone property from R2A, alternate 2 family residential, to C4 downtown commercial. The Zoning Advisory Commission held a public hearing, and Pat Norton of Beasing and Associates, let's see if I can get this to fill the page right. Nope. I can hear air coming from the background. Bottom right corner. There we go. The rezone property from R2A, alternate 2 family residential, to C4 downtown commercial district. This is a map, it's a vicinity map that kind of shows the area. The property in question is the black and white hatching located around the former Washington neighborhood garden located on Washington Street. You can see there's a mix of uses, different types of uses in that immediate neighborhood. Okay. We did notify all property owners within 200 feet of the request. All properties highlighted in yellow did receive our notice with regards to the rezoning of this property. The subject property is primarily a flat site. It has frontage along Washington Street to the west and a public alley to the east. As I mentioned before, it's in a mixed-use neighborhood. There are several adjacent land uses, and as I mentioned, the site was currently being used as a public garden. We did review traffic impacts with regards to it, and due to the small site size, it really limits development intensity, and the rezoning is not expected to significantly impact traffic patterns or counts in the neighborhood. There are separate adjacent properties. Like I mentioned, there are residential and commercial. A lot of commercial businesses in the area with Wellborn Painting and Drywall, Service Master. The Dubuque City Company houses the Riverview Center, the Dubuque City Assessor. There's a giant laundromat, and then Orange Park is located directly across from the property. Any future redevelopment of the site will require a site plan review by our development review team. And this rezoning supports the comprehensive plan goals for infill development mixed-use development. Our future land use map designation has identified it as mixed use, and that project aligns with several recommendations in our comprehensive plan. This is kind of a list of the uses, comparing what's allowed in the current R2A zoning district to all the expanded uses that would be allowed in a C4 zoning district. Once again, here's a zoning map that kind of shows that area. The darker orange area you'll see there is C4. We have some different zones to the south. R2A is the light orange color. C2 is the pink color that's shown on your map. Once again, we did notify everyone within 200 feet. We received no public input with regards to the rezoning, but we did field several inquiries about the possible location for the community garden, which will lead us on to the next public hearing right after this one. So by a vote of 5-0, the Zoning Advisory Commission recommends that the rezoning request, and a simple majority vote is required for City Council approval. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Wally. Well, we're in a public hearing to consider rezoning property at 1836 Washington Street from R2A, alternate two-family residential, to C4 downtown commercial. Do we have anyone here in chambers to address us on this item? Seeing no one here. Anyone virtually? Okay, all right. Back to us then for any discussion. Mr. Sprank?
It's a shame that it's no longer going to be a community garden. I'm glad that our next public hearing will discuss more of that. Do we have an idea what the owner wants to actually do with the site? It looks like he wants to build a shop there. That's the impression I got from this application.
Yes, when we spoke with the property owner, he was really heartbroken because he understood that he's such a neighborhood person. He wanted to allow the use of the property for a neighborhood garden. However, his business is starting to expand, and he wants to expand that his existing building located on the corner in order to accommodate some additional uses for his expanding business. So with regards to that. So that's the intention, is the expansion of his existing building there on the corner of 18th and Washington.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. Well, I'll just say, for me, I do think this is an appropriate rezoning, so I plan to vote for it. And I know that there are concerns about the garden, and I appreciate the fact that we're talking about that right after this, and trying to solve that problem a little bit more, because I think everyone recognizes the garden is an important, having a community garden is important, and being able to have those community gardens in places that are accessible is important. But it's also important to be able to allow expansion of these businesses when we have something like this going on, and we've actually seen Mr. Connor's businesses expanding right before our eyes as we are working on a lot of different housing projects and different things like that. So looking forward to voting for this tonight. Okay. Motion here is to receive and file, waive the 3 readings. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I move for final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Sprank, second by Wethel. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 2 is Unified Development Code Text Amendment to Community Gardens.
Mr. Mayor,
Roussel.
I move to receive and file, and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. Back to Wally, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. The request before you tonight is to amend the Unified Development Code to add community garden as a principal permitted use in all office, commercial, and industrial zoning districts. Currently, community gardens are only allowed in residential districts, and our work with the Washington Neighborhood Community Garden relocation effort brought forward a key regulatory gap in our community. Several suitable properties across Dubuque cannot be used for gardens simply because the zoning code does not list them as permitted uses. This amendment responds to that need and reflects the Unified Development Code's intent to adapt to an emerging community trend and changing conditions. Community gardens offer significant benefits that extend beyond the parcel they occupy. As outlined in the staff memo, these gardens are low-intensity uses that generate minimal noise and traffic while contributing meaningful to the neighborhood vitality. They improve food access, especially in areas considered food deserts, support social connections among residents, encourage environmental stewardship throughout stormwater absorption and pollinatory support, and make productive use of vacant or underutilized land. Their flexibility allows sites to transition to other uses as redevelopment occurs, just as we just saw before the previous public hearing. Moreover, expanding community gardens may locate aligns closely with the goals of the city's climate action plan, especially around strengthening local food resiliency and expanding opportunities for residents to access locally grown produce. The Zoning Advisory Commission discussed the request and voted unanimously 6-0 to recommend approval of the text amendment, and a simple majority vote is required for City Council approval. Next.
Thank you, Wally. Well, we are in a public hearing to consider amending the Unified Development Code by listing community gardens as a permitted use in all office, commercial, and industrial zoning districts. Do we have any public input on this item? Please.
Hillary Dalton, 1629 Washington Street. I am one of the core volunteers with the Washington Neighborhood Community Garden. We are still in mourning, as you are aware, that we were asked to vacate the space that Mr. Carner generously committed to the neighborhood group over 15 years ago. We thought that we had an agreement with the city that we could relocate to an area that, alas, it turned out that would not be available for relocating the Washington Neighborhood Community Garden. So, the oldest neighborhood in the city of Dubuque, therefore the oldest neighborhood in the state of Iowa, is without free produce available to the highest transient, lowest income per capita, and highest poverty rate per capita neighborhood in the city of Dubuque. We historically produced over 2,000 pounds of fresh produce every growing season. We canned, dehydrated food, taught our neighbors in the neighborhood how to acquire self-sufficiency skills. We worked with children who were in preschool until some of them grew up to graduate from elementary school. They learned how to plant, harvest, distinguish between different cultivars. And when we incorporated laying hens to our community garden through a generous block grant, those children learned how to dig up worms and feed the hens by hand. This is all gone now from the Washington neighborhood. We fortunately have found a generous, albeit possibly temporary home, which is only accessible now either by car or by city bus on work days only. So we do hope that one day we can return to our neighborhood and bring back that fresh produce opportunity in the midst of a food desert in the Washington neighborhood. So we are eager to hear how the rezoning works out, that there are more parcels that become available for growing food to feed people. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary, for your comments. Any others this evening? Okay. Anything virtually? No. All right. Back to us then for discussion. Ms. Rousseau?
Thank you. I support all the reasons for community gardens that were in the staff memo. They're all great. It's a great way to bring fresh produce to our residents and in bringing people together to make things grow. So I am very much in support of this amendment and look forward to voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Not seeing any? All right. Well, I'll just say that we don't often get too many no-brainers up here, and this is a really easy no-brainer for me. I mean, this one is just, yes, absolutely. We should be able to have community gardens in all these different zoning possibilities, and because there are city parcels and there are private parcels and places where this could work potentially, and with those potentials, I think we need to make sure that we open it up because this is something that the community definitely wants. So I'm looking forward to voting for it. All right, motion here is to receive and file and waive the 3 readings. So Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Roussel.
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second by Wethel.
A motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 3 is River City Property Management LLC Development Agreement.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
We got a motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a proposed development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and River City Property Management LLC, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations for rehabilitation of property at 1255, 1257 Locust Street. The property at 1255, 1257 Locust Street is currently vacant and structurally sound, offering a strong foundation for reinvestment. Its historic character, layout, and overall building form make it well-suited for a comprehensive rehabilitation that will enhance the exterior facade and create new residential units. River City Property Management, operated by local developer Sam Murley, has previously rehabilitated several residential properties throughout Dubuque, including 245 West First Street, where a locally owned small business occupies the first floor commercial space. The key elements of the development agreement include the following. Number 1, developer will make a capital investment of approximately $600,000 to rehabilitate the property. Number 2, developer must create 6 residential rental units. Number 3, developer will receive 15 years of tax increment financing incentives in the form of semi-annual rebates. Tax increment financing incentives are estimated not to exceed $120,000. Number 4, city to award a downtown housing incentive grant in an amount of $60,000, which is $10,000 times 6 units. Number 5, city to award a downtown rehabilitation grant not to exceed $35,000 for 1255 Locust Street. Number 6, city to award a downtown rehabilitation grant not to exceed $35,000 for 1257 Locust Street. Number 7, City of Dubuque will amend the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District Plan to accommodate the issuance of tax increment financing incentives. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We're in a public hearing to consider a development agreement between City of Dubuque and River City Property Management for 1255 and 1257 Locust Street. Do we have anyone here to address us on this item this evening? Seeing no one here, anyone virtually? No. Okay. All right, back to us then for any discussion. I am Ms. Wethel.
Just really grateful for the investment in this historic property. I think it's going to be a beautiful addition and just filling in gradually the housing needs that we have for density. So yeah, grateful for the development.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Landecker.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, curious on this project. Is it subject to bank financing or has it received bank financing approval? Do we know?
I saw Jill here a minute ago. I'm not seeing her now. Oh, here she comes. It's okay, Jill. Come on up. We have a question for you. I'll have Mr. Leyendecker repeat it while you're walking up.
Sorry, Jill. I'll restate my question. I was curious on this project itself, which I think it's a great project, but curious on is it subject to bank financing or is it contingent on receiving these incentives?
That is between, Jill Connors, Economic Development Director. that is a matter between the developer and their lender.
Okay.
So that would be if the lender is requiring that their lending is contingent upon getting the incentive, that's their decision.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I was wondering, just overall from an incentive standpoint, are these, needed to rehab the property? I fully understand and respect the cost of rehabbing older historic or near historic properties of this nature. So I was just curious kind of on if we knew a little more insights on the overall economics on the project.
Well, what the policy has been with our grant programs is that if the projects are in the right area of town and they're eligible for the funding and we have available funding, then they are awarded the grants.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You bet.
Any others? Okay. All right, well, the motion here is to receive and file and adopt the resolution. So Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 4 is fiscal year 2026 second budget amendment.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Wethel.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Wethel, second by Roussel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Chief Financial Officer Jennifer Larson and Budget Manager Laura Bendorf are recommending approval of the second fiscal year 2026 budget amendment, which amends the fiscal year 2026 budget for City Council action since the first amendment to the fiscal year 2026 budget, which was adopted in October of 2025, and adjustments to reflect new grants and reallocation of funding. An increase in interfund transfers of $695,838 is also included. The amendment totals $802,511 in increased appropriation authority and an increase in resources of $1,395,120. Additional revenues added to this amendment with offsetting appropriations are Healthy Community Catalyst for $100,000 and Encyclopedia Dubuque Legacy Plan for $750. Reduced revenues reflected in this amendment with offsetting reduction in appropriations, including the Older Adult Home Modification Program for $155,978. This amendment includes an increase of $443,508 for the Community Development Block Grant-related programs. The increase in Community Development Block Grant programs includes capital projects of $413,500, zoning enforcement of $8,710, and code enforcement of $10,000. This amendment also includes an increase of $472,930 in the lead paint fund, $430,154 in the general fund, reflecting the increase in ambulance revenue, increase in road use tax fund of $197,000 for Grandview street light replacements, increase in the sales tax fund of $255,838, and an increase in the stormwater construction fund of $361,550 to reflect the BRIC grant consultant and design funding. Additionally, the following changes are a result of savings after the completion of the ERP implementation in our organization. A decrease in the general construction fund of $17,917, the water construction fund of $60,071, decrease in sanitary sewer construction fund of $166,962, a decrease in the refuse construction fund of $1,736, and a decrease in the landfill fund of $53,965. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Well, we're in a public hearing to consider amending the current budget for fiscal year ending in June 26. Do we have anyone here to address us on this item this evening? Seeing no one here. Anyone virtually? No. All right, thank you. I'll bring it back to us then. Jenny, I see you back there. Can I ask you a question real quick, please? So there was increased attention on the budget this year as we went through the budget process. There was just more public input and people paying more attention. So I want to ask this question just for the sake of people who might be paying more attention to this. We just passed a budget why all of a sudden are we moving all this money around to different places? If you could just give us a little more context of like why we do this, how often this happens, just give us a little more on why this is in front of us tonight.
Okay. Jennifer Larson, Chief Financial Officer. So typically, the city does 2 budget amendments each fiscal year. The first one happens shortly after we start the fiscal year in July. So most of that has to do with large capital projects that have not been completed. So we're carrying over those budgets into the next year's budget in order to finish those projects. So that's the majority of amendment number 1. The second amendment that is in public hearing now is typically picking up things that either City Council has approved or things we didn't know about when we adopted the budget. So if you think about it, we adopt the budget back in April, and so a lot of things occur like new grants, other funding changes that we have to address so that we have the spending authority in our budget. And then the last part of the memo was we completed our ERP implementation, so we had some savings there. So the budget is freeing up those funds.
Got it. And just for clarity, this is the budget that we passed in April of '25.
Yes, April of '25,
Yeah.
the fiscal year 2026 budget.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Other questions? Mr. Spring?
Jenny, just clarifying, the community development block grants, big words, that funding stream comes from HUD, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
As well as like the lead paint funding, that also comes from HUD.
Yes,
All right.
both do.
Okay. That was my main question as to where those funds were coming from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wethel?
Jenny, I don't know if you're the person to ask this question of, and I'm sorry if I missed it in my reading. The older adult home modifications grant is a reduction in revenue in this amendment. Can I just learn, or could anyone share more information about why that occurred?
I'm going to, Laura Bendorf, the budget manager, is online. I'm going
Oh, okay.
to ask if she can respond to that question.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, good evening, Laura Bendorf, budget manager. I believe it's a reduction from the budget, not a reduction in overall funding. So the budget in 26.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
Mr. Leidecker?
Yeah, Mr. Rayner, thanks. 2 questions. One on the amendment number 2, 26 council detail document. Page 2 shows there's golf fees and rental, cart rentals for $48,000, but it's included in the expense item versus revenue. Is that accurate? That's an expense versus revenue?
Yeah, I will call on Laura Bendorf again. I see what you're saying. They're both revenue object codes listed in the expense column. Is that a correction that needs to be made, Laura, after year end?
I believe so. I'm looking at it right now as well. I believe that's a correction that needs to occur.
Okay. And then the other one, which relates directly to the finance department from a physical presence standpoint, is I see on page 5 of that same document that there's the remodel expense associated with moving out to the Chabanel site for the finance relocation. And that's in here at $675,293. And I do recall back in March, we approved the build-out expense of $441,000. And wonder, I see that there's a line item in there that says adjust to actual. Is that, so was that build out over budget?
No. So the construction award was just for construction. So the other piece of it is we actually have to like furnish the offices. There's like some appliances in the kitchenette that have to go in, some of those non-construction related expenses. So the amount you're seeing is the total budget that was approved, and we're just amending it into the budget.
Okay. Do you know overall from what we anticipated, was that over or under budget?
The construction award was under by approximately 98,000, I believe.
Okay.
There were a few change orders that have been signed, but I expect the construction contract to come under budget.
It's great to hear. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Can I follow up on Mr. Leindecker's first question here then with if there is a correction that's needed on page 2, which was specific to the recreation division, so it was golf fees and golf cart rental, am I correct that that's what we're talking about there? The 48,000 apiece?
Correct.
Yeah. How do we need to go about making that correction if we're gonna approve this evening?
My recommendation would be to approve it as is, and then we will incorporate any necessary changes in the First Amendment for the next budget year if needed.
Okay. So then you recognize the fact, basically, that there is a correction that's going to be needed, and we advance that correction to the next budget amendment that we're going to
Right.
make. Okay. All right. Is that the standard practice for how you do that? If you notice a mistake after we pass something like this?
Typically, yes, because anything related to the budget has to have a proof of publication, a minimum of 10 days prior to the hearing. So, yeah, I would recommend that we just take care of it with the next budget amendment.
Okay. All right. And I'm guessing that if it was something that was really significant, which there's not a ton of really significant facts, amounts on this particular document, but if there was something, like to the tune of millions of dollars, probably be a separate item, right? I mean, we'd bring that separately forward or remove it from this?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Something significant, yep.
Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Staver.
So I had a question on, I guess, page 7. So these totals at the end here, this, 1,498,349, is that, in the positive? So that's what, the difference between what we proposed it was going to cost and what it actually cost, or?
No, so the column on the left-hand side, if
Yeah.
it's a positive number, would be increase in expenditures.
Yeah.
So it's increasing expenditures by roughly 1.5 million. And then the column on the right side is an increase in revenues.
So it's a net positive about 500,000?
Right, so we're amending in revenues that the city had received that most likely we had started.
So what happens to that money then? If it was budgeted for and it wasn't used, and or that we had a surplus in the revenues or
So we won't know until we close the fiscal year what our fiscal year end looks like. But typically, we would first keep our general fund reserve at 27%, and then any remainder could be used in the next year's budget process, or if there are other needs are identified by the city manager, those could be recommended to council.
Okay. And then there was one charge in here that caught my eye for the airport, like 418,000, just as payments to other agencies. What does that mean?
What page are you referring to,
Just
Mr.
that,
Staver?
yeah.
It's 2, I think, of 7.
Thank you.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that was related to the airport revenue guarantee, so that's the amount that was not used. So it's being put back into the general fund since it was not used for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Landick?
I would just say, and granted, this is my first time going through a budget amendment, so I can only use that for so much longer, I think. But on some of these adjust to actuals, and I know there's a bunch of adjust to actuals on here, and I don't know how you would do this efficiently, but I do think maybe having a footnote for some of these, maybe if it's over a certain dollar amount, would be helpful. Maybe to Mr. Staver's point, just the quick reconciliation to say it was under utilized or not utilized money that went back into the general fund would be helpful. Something like that, I think, would just add a little more color on this document, because there is a lot of moving parts on here, and I appreciate all the work that goes into these budget amendments. That's for sure, but that might be just something to think about going forward.
We do try to address explanations for larger items in the staff memo, for example, but we could definitely expand on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, Jenny. Appreciate it. And Laura, thank you very much for the information. All right, well, the motion here is to receive and file and adopt this resolution. So, Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 5 is B Branch Trail Project, Phase 3, 12th to 9th Street, Iowa DOT project.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Sprank, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Engineer Gus Sahoyas is recommending City Council approve the plans, specifications, form of contract, and construction estimate of $236,750.10 for the Bee Branch Creek Trail Project Phase 3. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We're in a public hearing to approve the plan specifications form of contract for the Bee Branch Creek Trail Project Phase 3. Do we have any public input on this item? Seeing none here. Anything virtually? All right. Okay, back to us then for any discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Sprank.
question for the city manager. Can you remind me what the funding source of this is from?
Yeah, I'm going to ask the city engineer to step up and answer the questions on the project.
It's up as high as it'll go. Good evening, this is Gus Sahoyas, city engineer. So it's basically DMAT's TAP grant, it's 80%, there's a city match of 20%. So $214,000 is coming from the TAP grant through DMAT's, and the other 20% is local funds.
That works for me. Thank you, Gus.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Gus. All right, seeing and hearing none. Looking forward to having more trails, that's for sure. So I'm glad that this is happening. Motion here is to receive and file and adopt the resolution. So Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 6 is Greyhound Park Road Water Main Loop Project.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Russell.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Russell, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Water Department Director Christopher Lester is recommending City Council approval of the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of $290,972 for the Greyhound Park Road Water Main Loop Project. This project provides for the installation of approximately 785 linear feet of 8-inch ductile iron pipe north of the existing dog track on Greyhound Park Road. Currently, water does not circumnavigate the entire island. The island's water supply comes through a 12-inch water main connection along the East 16th Street Bridge. To ensure a sound, fully functioning system, a backup redundant supply of water that does circumnavigate the island is needed, allowing repairs anywhere on the island to have access to water. The new waterway main will create a loop system and provide a redundant water supply supporting improved reliability and service. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully recommend Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Well, we're in a public hearing to approve the plan specification form of contract and estimated cost for the Greyhound Park Road Water Main Loop Project. Do we have any public input on this item? Seeing none here. Anything virtually?
No.
Nothing there. Back to us then for discussion. Not seeing or hearing any. Okay. Motion here is to receive and file and adopt this resolution. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Liondecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Moving on to public input. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting may address the city council on an action item from this agenda or on the matters under the control of the city council. For all persons attending, please approach the podium and state your name and address when the mayor asks if there is any person input. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Individual remarks are limited to 5 minutes, and the overall public input is limited to 30 minutes. Under Iowa Open Meetings Law, the city council can take no formal action on comments given during the public input or that do not relate to an action item on the agenda.
Thank you, Trish. We'd welcome any public input this evening if we have any. Please, come on up.
Howdy, folks. My name's Dale Lesline, 17345 Asbury Road, and I'm with the Dubuque County ATV-UTV Alliance. And today, anyhow, I'm here to ask for a big favor for a very small issue. And this is what we have going on. We've been working with the city of Asbury to try and get a UTV ordinance. And we have several council members that are hesitant in passing a UTV ordinance because of a half-mile section of Asbury Road from Sipo Road to approximately Briarwood that is in the city limits of Dubuque. And this would prevent side-by-sides from legally entering or exiting the city of Asbury. And what we would like, and I understand anyhow, they don't want to pass an ordinance and have their residents picked up, and we don't want to have our county residents in this thing. And we also don't want to have our law enforcement having issues with this as well on it. And so today what we would like to do is we would like to ask the city for a variance on this half-mile section of Asbury Road contingent on the city of Asbury passing a UTV ordinance. And we've been very successful in the state of Iowa. We have 931 towns. We have a 100% success rate. And this section of Asbury Road that we're talking about is farmland. There is a farmer on this, and he operates an ATV going farm to farm for many years successfully and has had no issues on it. And we're here today because we want to do this legally. We want to find a legal way to get in and out of the city of Asbury, and we need your help on this little half-mile section. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale, for your comments.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Mike? I'm just to reiterate what Dale said. I live at, my name's Kevin Hennings. I live at 2100 Messina Court, Asbury, Iowa. And I actually have to go down through an empty lot to get on the county road so I can go into Piasta to gas up my units. And I'd like to be able to go in and out of Asbury. We have the support of the mayor and of Tom Hannaberry, our police chief. So they're all supporting this. And these ball people have been, well, they're relatives of mine, so they run all up and down on the road on this section. So, and I've never seen a policeman on there, and we just want to do it right. That's all we want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for your comments. Any other input this evening? Anything virtually? No. Okay. All right. We can move on to action items then, please.
Next are action items. Action item number 1, city manager recommendation to appoint Assistant Chief of Police Joe Meserich as the next City of Dubuque Chief of Police.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and approve.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Roussel and a second by Wethel. Mike, please.
I want to provide an overview of the recruitment and evaluation process for the next chief of police and to recommend approval of the final candidate for appointment. This appointment requires approval by a majority vote of the City Council in accordance with Iowa Code, which states, and I quote, "In cities under a council-manager form of government, the city manager shall make the appointments with the approval of the City Council," close quotes. Chief Jeremy Jensen was appointed Chief of Police in February of 2022. Since his appointment, Chief Jensen has served with distinction, providing consistent leadership, guided departmental operations, and supported key community engagement initiatives. Chief Jensen has formally notified the city of his intent to retire effective August 3rd, 2026. In anticipation of this leadership transition, the city manager initiated the recruitment and assessment process for identifying the next chief of police. So what was the scope of the recruitment? I made the decision to start this recruitment only accepting applications from current Dubuque Police Department employees. The city of Dubuque has an extremely talented group of police officers at every level in the department. You only need to look at the outcomes the department produces to identify that fact. The state of Iowa is one of the safest states in the country, and Dubuque is one of the safest large cities in the state of Iowa. And looking at the 2025 Dubuque Police Department annual report is very instructive. Now, before I look at that report, I just learned while I was sitting here tonight that Dubuque has been ranked the 15th safest mid-sized city in the country, only second in Iowa only to the city of Ames. So that's just a new fact of some of the accomplishments of our community and of our police department. But to go on with the police department annual report, the total Part 1 crimes in Dubuque fell by more than 24% from 2023 to 2025. In 2025, the total number of Part 1 crimes decreased by 4.4% from 2024 and was 14.4% lower than the 5-year average. The national crime clearance rate for crimes against persons is 48%. The Dubuque Police Department's clearance rate for these crimes is 56%. The national crime clearance rate for crimes against property is 14%. The Dubuque Police Department's clearance rate for these crimes is 37%. In 2025, the Dubuque Police Department responded to 6 incidents of shots fired. This figure represents the lowest total since 2020 and is a small fraction of the number that are in other Midwest cities. The Dubuque Police Department has embraced technology as a force multiplier, including the creation of the Precision Policing Center staffed by 4 civilian positions. The Dubuque Police Department has a stellar reputation for working with other agencies, including the Dubuque County Sheriff's Office. Community-oriented policing is not just a unit in the police department, it is a philosophy of how the entire department operates. 2 impressive examples of how the Dubuque Police Department supports crime prevention is the School Resource Officer Program and the Crisis Intervention Team. To support this high-profile executive search, the city engaged MGT Consulting, a third-party recruitment and public sector advisory firm. An introductory project meeting was held on Thursday, February 26, 2026, with Assistant City Manager Corey Burbach, Talent Acquisition Manager Kristen Dietz, and the MGT recruitment team. The city requested MGT's assistance in 3 primary areas. Number 1, candidate review and evaluation. MGT was asked to assist with the structured evaluation of all applicants, including reviewing candidate credentials based on the job description and established qualification criteria, narrowing the applicant pool to candidates meeting minimum and preferred standards, administering a multi-stage evaluation process consisting of completion of a detailed professional experience questionnaire, a live consultant-led video interview of almost 60 minutes, reference checks for selected candidates, and internet and social media screening for finalists. Number 2, presentation of recommended candidates. MGT was also tasked with preparing and delivering a comprehensive recruitment report, including a candidate portfolio with key credentials and standardized summary resumes, a complete log of all applicants with resumes, delivery of the report prior to the recruitment report presentation meeting, and a detailed briefing with city leadership to review findings and provide additional candidate insights. Number 3, background screening. For finalists, MGT conducted a robust background investigation, including Social Security trace and verification, U.S. federal criminal search, enhanced verified national criminal search, county and statewide criminal checks, civil litigation search, bankruptcy lien and judgment review, motor vehicle record screening, and education verification for all degrees. The civil service process. On April 14, 2026, the Civil Service Commission certified the police chief eligibility list. This list, forwarded to the City Council on April 20th, 2026, includes 2 exceptional internal candidates, Rick Fulmer and Joe Mesrich. Interview panels. There were multiple interview panels involved in the process as follows. The main interview panel was City Manager Mike Van Milligan, City Attorney Crenna Brumwell, Assistant City Manager Corey Burbach, Fire Chief Amy Scheller, and Community Impact and Neighborhood Support Director Antonio Muzan. The police staff interview panel was Corporal Chris Gurrell, Lieutenant Ann Dodeman, Lieutenant Luke Bach, Corporal Joel Cross, Corporal Justin Dura, COP Officer Alicia Clowiter, Record Supervisor Shelley Laird, Patrol Officer Dylan Dorgis, Patrol Officer Austin Manders. The community and staff interview panel consisted of Michael Taylor, Anthony Allen, Amy Hawkins, Carla Heathcote, Emergency Management Agency Coordinator Tom Berger, and Emergency Communications Director Jessica George Rethwich. Sheriff Joe Kennedy was unable to participate in the interview process, but his opinion was provided. Results from interview panels. There was near unanimous support for the selection of Assistant Chief Joe Mesrich for appointment as the next Chief of Police. Stakeholders consistently highlighted Assistant Chief Mesrich's extensive command experience, professional training, leadership across multiple divisions, and strong community and interagency involvement. His qualifications align with the city's commitment to modern policing, organizational development, and effective public service delivery. And here is a candidate summary of Assistant Chief Joe Mesrich. He brings more than 2 decades of progressive experience with the Dubuque Police Department and a strong record of operational leadership, community partnership, and organizational stewardship. He's been a senior law enforcement leader with extensive command experience, a master's of business administration with emphasis in leadership and human resource management, and he's a graduate of the FBI National Academy and the Police Executive Research Forum Senior Management Institute for Police. His career progression at the City of Dubuque Police Department includes being a police officer in the Patrol Division from 2001 to 2007, being a corporal in the Community-Oriented Policing Division from 2007 to 2009, being a corporal in the Criminal Investigation Division from 2009 to 2011, being a lieutenant in the Patrol Division from 2011 to 2018, being a lieutenant in the Community-Oriented Policing Division from 2018 to 2020, being a captain in the Patrol Division in 2020, being a captain in Professional Standards and Internal Affairs from 2020 to 2022, and being the Assistant Chief of Police from 2022 to the present. His leadership and specialized experience includes the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force participant, an active shooter response instructor and coordinator from 2006 to 2020, the tactical unit leadership, including rifle team supervisor and entry team member, field training officer and supervisor, mentoring and developing new officers, and an adjunct instructor at the University of Dubuque in sociology and law enforcement. His professional contributions include an executive board member for Scouting America, Northeast Iowa Council, chair of our Risk Management Committee, a member of the City Safety Committee and Incident Review Team, and a member of the City Assessment and Care Team. His education includes a Master of Business Administration from the University of Dubuque, a Bachelor of Business Administration and Human Resources Management, summa cum laude, and the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy Certified Peace Officer. Based on the comprehensive recruitment, evaluation, and stakeholder review process, I respectfully recommend that the mayor and city council approve my appointment of Assistant Chief of Police Joseph Mesrich as the next chief of police for the city of Dubuque.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Well, I'll open it up here for everybody, but I'll kick us off first. So Assistant Chief Mesrich, I think this is a great choice. I really do. I think, first of all, let me just talk about our process. I think it's incredibly thorough, as Mike just pointed out, in a very, very detailed memo. But I appreciate that it is, and I appreciate that we take the care that we do to be able to talk about one of the more important positions within our community. We do this obviously for the police chief. We did this for our fire chief. And I think it's really important that we go through that process. I agree with Mike that looking internally first was the right move. I think that we absolutely do have incredibly talented officers on the force and appreciate everything that you do. We talk about that frequently here. I hope you hear it. I hope you believe it, because I think it's true. Actually, I shouldn't say I think. I know it's true in what we're saying up here. We're doing our best to try to support you in the way we need. And Chief Jensen, we appreciate the work that you have done getting the department to where it is. You stepped into this position after a lot of experience of your own within the department. You came after a transition of someone who'd been in the role for a long time. It was a difficult time in losing our chief. And you came in and you kept it strong, and you've done a wonderful job in carrying this forward. So thank you for everything that you have done in this. So I, for one, am going to be voting for this. I'm looking forward to doing so. So with that, I'll open it up to other members of the council to see if you have anything to say. Ms. Rousseau.
Thank you. I think it's wonderful to see our assistant chief receive this opportunity. His resume is so extensive. His experience is so broad. He knows our community well, and his list of specialized training is very impressive. So I am honored to support his promotion to serve as our next chief of police. Thank you.
Ms. Wethel.
I'd just like to thank both applicants for going through the process. The process obviously is quite tedious. And so just the time, investment, and personal will to do that work, to go through this process is quite a task that I'm grateful we had two internal candidates that wanted to do that. I think it's a great example of working to nurture a department of belonging and care for one another, and bringing each other up in experiences and how we can continue to support all of our Dubuque police officers in their work and encourage them to engage in professional development. So I too am very grateful for this opportunity to support tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Wethel. Mr. Staver.
Yeah, I'd also like to say I was very impressed with the resume. I mean, that was an incredible amount of accomplishments throughout your career. I'm very happy it came from internal, and I would also like to say when we went through the departments, I think your humble, genuine demeanor was really impressive. I mean, both you gentlemen were really class acts, and I'm happy for you. So congratulations.
All right, any others? The last thing I'll say directly to you, currently Assistant Chief Mesrich, is continue to push us. I think Chief Jensen has done this, and is, I think back to things like discussions about cameras, for example, and the long-winded discussion that we had about that. But he kept coming to make sure that the point that he was trying to make on behalf of the department was made to us and to the public. So I would ask that you continue to educate us, continue to educate the public on the needs that you have in the department, and bring to us, what you need to say that we need to know. I hope that, I believe you'll do that. I trust that you'll do that. I've worked with you for a number of years now here in this role, and I know that you'll be able to keep doing it, but I'm just encouraging you to do so, because I know that you're speaking for the whole department, and I want to make sure that the public hears that and that we hear that as well, because we still have challenges ahead of us that we need to address, so please do. All right, well, without further ado, we will take a vote on this. So the motion here is to receive and file and approve the recommendation of the city manager. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mayor, before calling the roll, I'd like to note that Councilmember Resnick had to leave his virtual attendance for tonight's meeting.
All right, and we thank Mr. Resnick for joining us. He was only able to be here for a part of the meeting. No one take that personally. It was just a time, he said it was right around 8 o'clock he was going to have to leave, so we understand his needing to step away. Please.
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Well, that motion passes 6-0, so let me be the first to congratulate our future police chief, Joe Mesrich. All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, on to number 2.
Action item number 2 is Loris Boulevard and Locust Street Storm Sewer Reconstruction Project Award Public Improvement Contract.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Got a motion by Sprank, second by Roussel. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Engineer Gus Zahoyas is recommending City Council award the public improvement construction contract for the Loris Boulevard and Locust Street Storm Sewer Reconstruction Project to Ganson Excavating in the amount of $512,919.92 for both the base bid and alternate number 1, which is 8% below the revised estimate of probable costs through adoption of the attached resolution. The construction estimate of probable costs has increased by $78,400 since the project public hearing memo, reflecting final plan cost adjustments, pre-bid addendum, and incorporating the alternate bid number 1 estimated cost. This project involves replacing approximately 375 feet of failing storm sewer beneath Loris Boulevard and reconstructing the full width of pavement from the intersection of Loris Boulevard and Locust Street eastward to Main Street. The project will also reconstruct all pedestrian ramps within the limits to meet current ADA standards. As part of the project, the bid documents include alternate bid number 1 for the removal and replacement of the concrete pavement on Loris Boulevard between Bluff Street and Locust Street. In advance of this summer's construction, the Loris and Bluff intersection was recently reconstructed to ensure it can remain open and accommodate the designated traffic detour route during the project. Staff believes it is the appropriate time to replace this one-block segment of older concrete pavement from Bluff to Locust. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? All right. Seeing none and hearing none. Motion here is to receive and file and adopt the resolution. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Action item number 3 is Loris Boulevard Reconstruction and Repairs Project Award Public Improvement Contract.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Assistant Public Works Director, Project Manager Max O'Brien is recommending City Council award the public improvement contract for the Loris Boulevard Reconstruction and Repair Project to Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete in the amount of $405,706.20 through adoption of the attached resolution. This contract award amount is 6.92% more than the engineer's estimate. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion do we have? Can I ask one question, Max? I'm sorry to bring you up, just it's a simple one. If you could just tell us, just for the sake of public knowledge, we're talking about the Loris reconstruction project. Can you tell us from where to where that we are actually talking about this? Like what streets, like what cross street to what cross street?
Max O'Brien, Assistant Public Works Director. So the previous project is basically from Bluff to Main Street. This project is from Walnut down to Bluff Street and just various activities within that limit. So from Walnut to Prairie Street, it'll be kind of a full reconstruction between curb to curb, but then it's individual panel replacements from Prairie down to Bluff Street.
Okay. So it's the major hill part of Loris,
Yes.
and obviously we're thinking Ragbri as we speed this up, as you mentioned in the memo. Everything that's beyond that goes up past Loris College and up the other hill, what are we talking about there?
So further to the west of Walnut, so from Walnut up to University, that was the crack ceiling project that we had. It was on the last council agenda, so that contractor's actually starting work this week on the portion between Alta Vista and Walnut.
Excellent.
So
Great. All right, thank you. It brings clarity to that. I know we've got a lot of questions about that right now, so I really appreciate you being able to point all that out. All right. Any others? Okay. Well, motion here is to receive and file and adopt the resolution. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel. Aye. Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 4 is 2026 Public Works Asphalt Milling Profile Project Award Public Improvement Contract.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Sprank, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Assistant Public Works Director, Project Manager Max O'Brien is recommending City Council award the public improvement contract for the 2026 Public Works Asphalt Milling Profile Project to WK Construction in the amount of $135,229.47. This award contract amount is 7.29% less than the engineer's estimate. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? Not seeing any or hearing any. All right, motion here is to receive and file, adopt the resolution. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 5 is ordinance establishing minimum sanitary sewer charges for fiscal year 2027.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file, and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Water and Resource Recovery Center Director Darren Meering is recommending City Council approval of the ordinance amending Section 13-2C3C of the Code of Ordinance to adjust the minimum sanitary sewer charges by 9% in support of the adopted fiscal year 2027 budget. Following adoption of the ordinance establishing the sanitary sewer rates per 100 cubic feet and rate per each gallon, staff identified that the minimum sanitary sewer charges were not adjusted as part of the ordinance amendment. The minimum sanitary sewer charges should also reflect the same 9% increase adopted for the fiscal year 2027 sanitary sewer rates to fully support the adopted fiscal year 2027 budget. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
All right, thank you, Mike. This is the first time I remember this happening. Is this something that was just a simple error that we, and I might ask you to come up, Darren, if that's all right, just so we can make sure we answer the question fully. So we just didn't identify that there were numbers that hadn't been changed, and we were supposed to change those numbers. In years past, have those numbers just been changed, and that's why we never had to come back and fix it? Is that kind of what I'm understanding?
Water and Resource Recovery Center Director Darren Meering. Yeah, so normally there's 2 sections of the ordinance that we change and update every year when we adopt the new budget. And one is, as outlined in the memo, talking about the rate we charge per gallon or per cubic foot. And then there's another section that actually establishes the base rate. So that part was just missed this time.
Got it. Okay. All right. So it's just a simple error of essentially like a Scrivener's error that we needed to fix coming back. Okay.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
it's not completely unheard of. I can think of a time at some point in the last 10 to 15 years where we had to do something similar related to public works and some refuse rates. Just every once in a while, there's little correction that we have to make.
Sure.
And since the ordinances don't go into effect until July 1, when we notice it, we have the time to correct it. And that's why you'll see this ordinance also goes into effect July 1.
Got it. All right, thank you. That's very helpful. That explains the answer to my question. Do we have any other questions or discussion? All right. Motion here is to receive and file and waive the 3 readings. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Russell?
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Russell, second by Wethel. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 6 is fire cost recovery billing ordinance.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Wethel?
I move to receive and file, and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Sprank.
Motion by Wethel, second by Sprank. Mike, please.
Thank you. Fire Chief Amy Scheller is recommending City Council approval of a fire cost recovery ordinance, including the associated fee schedule. In October of 2025, the Dubuque Fire Department presented a long-term financial sustainability strategy intended to support future operational needs, minimum staffing improvements, and enhanced emergency response capabilities throughout the community. And this presentation was to the City Council. The strategy identified 3 primary components, including modernization of ambulance billing rates, utilizing the annual GEMT cost reporting methodology, implementation of a fire cost recovery billing program, and negotiated operational savings associated with the department's public consulting group contract. Since that time, the department has implemented the ambulance billing modifications and previously completed the negotiated PCG contract adjustments. The department is now advancing the remaining component of the strategy through implementation of the proposed fire cost recovery program and associated ordinance structure. Establishing this ordinance is a needed step in creating the legal and administrative framework necessary to recover eligible costs associated with specific emergency response incidents, including motor vehicle accidents, hazardous materials incidents, vehicle fires, specialized rescue responses, and other eligible emergency mitigation activities or recovery from a responsible party or insurer is permitted. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion or questions? Ms. Russell?
Question. I had asked this question earlier, but wondered if we might clarify that these are things that we hadn't billed in the past, but these are new recovery methods. Is that right?
Right. So in October of 2025, Chief Scheller made a presentation to the Mayor and City Council detailing a path forward. The path generally was designed to fund the addition of 14 firefighter positions, 5 of which you approved in the current fiscal year budget, 9 of which you approved in next year's budget, subject to us, the city receiving a federal SAFER grant, SFER. We did receive notification today, by the way, that the SAFER grant process is open for application. So probably at your June 1st City Council meeting, you'll be asked to consider and approve the SAFER grant. But the SAFER grant requires matching funds in order to add the 14 firefighter positions. And so this is one of the sources of the funds.
Thank you.
Other questions, discussion? Mr. Staver?
So if I remember, the way this was kind of laid out was that essentially this would be recovery of costs from insurance companies only?
So I'm going to ask Chief Scheller to address that level of specificity, please.
Good evening, Amy Scheller, Fire Chief, Dubuque Fire. Yes, that's the intent, is to use that mechanism to recover eligible costs from the insurance companies.
So I thought when we talked about it, it was going to be limited to the insurance company, but I see a lot of language in the ordinance that, says directly to any responsible party. I mean, it doesn't say specifically just the insurance company. It sounds like you can pursue anybody.
Well, when we did the RFP and attempted to identify the future vendor that will be partnering with us to do the cost recovery, they recommended that we work with city legal to craft out an ordinance that gave us the best opportunity to collect from the insurance companies, and that's why you see that like overarching language.
Mm-hmm. And you have to have that language in there in order to collect from the insurance company?
The way it was drafted, this was done by Assistant City Attorney Jason Lehman, working in conjunction with the fire department. My understanding of the way that it was drafted was done in a way that maximizes the recovery, as Chief mentioned, but it does not eliminate our ability to do the, is it called balanced
billing?
Balanced billing, which gives us the opportunity to, if we bill X and we recover Y from the insurance company, we can balance bill, adjust that.
We would have that opportunity, though we did the
Right.
RFP that did not require that balance billing to our taxpayers. So this would give us an opportunity if we decided that maybe individuals that come in that aren't taxpayers, we could balance bill them. But as of the writing of the RFP, we're not intending to balance bill at all.
But you could, if you wanted to, right? Yeah, I feel like that's not the way it was really laid out to me originally, because we're saying that now, that we're not going to bill them, but, down the road, the next council member or the next manager decides, I think we will bill them, that kind of bothers me, because it's not, I don't feel like what I thought it was.
Yeah, we discussed the structure fire response as well, and we will not be including or signing that contract with the cost recovery vendor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
So you could potentially still collect without having that language in there, just, you might get some resistance.
There would be some legal limitations, I believe, from a collection standpoint. As part of this process, my understanding is there has been some discussion with the agency that is used by other departments from the city related to using collections, and that if there's not specific language in the ordinance, it presents a challenge for them, and they don't think it's actually enforceable.
What was the amount that you thought you would recover using this ordinance? Didn't you have some
It's
projection?
approximately 120,000 to 140,000. It's not a substantial amount when you look at cost recovery, but still a position and a half as far as a firefighter recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow up real quick before I open it up to Mr. Sprank is next? Can you repeat what you just said? You said something about it's not enforceable if we don't have this language? Not enforceable even for like to bill the insurance companies?
No, not to bill the insurance companies, but if we needed to send somebody to collections or we needed to enforce it in court, we needed to be able to point to an ordinance that allowed us to recover the dollar amount.
Okay. Okay, and, all right, I'll come back to that. I'm going to sit with that for a second. Thank you very much, Krenna. Mr. Sprank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Krenna or Chief, I'm not sure who would like to, can you talk a little bit more about, I'm actually reading the ordinance, I'm on page 4, section K, the hardship waiver. Do we have, like, will our guidelines be for that?
So that would be in K2.
Yes.
So if you look in determining whether the hardship exists, we would consider the resources of the responsible party, whether and to what extent insurance coverage is available, nature and severity of the incident, whether it was accidental or beyond the reasonable control of the responsible party, and any other factors deemed relevant for fairness and equity.
All right. Guess that answers my question. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that one. I mean, so if we're not intending to to charge the taxpayer, why would they need a hardship waiver?
Again, when we went through the process, after we had the meeting, the end of the year, last year, we identified the billing vendor and then used their recommendations and
This
strategies.
is all their language?
It's insurance best practice for leveraging the best ability to recover costs. So the vendor that we've selected has done this. They have over 2,000 clients. 7 of them are in Iowa, 140 of them are in Illinois, 40 of them are in Wisconsin. So that's what we followed, is a lot of their guidance and language, working with city legal.
I'm looking at E5. It says submission of a claim to insurance shall operate as a waiver for any charges or otherwise to limit the ability to pursue full cost recovery. So does that essentially let them off the hook as long as they have insurance?
Yeah, we're asking that our citizens will submit that insurance claim to insurance or work with our cost recovery vendor, very similar to EMS billing, very, very similar.
As a waiver of any charges. Am I thinking about that right, Brenna? So if they submit an insurance, their claim, then that acts as a waiver for any additional charges? Whatever their insurance doesn't cover, they're cleared of it now. It acts as a waiver.
I'm looking at it. Give me a second here.
E5.
I believe that that is how I would read that. Not being involved in the drafting, I could check with Assistant City Attorney Jason Lehman to ensure that that was the intent.
Yeah, so that kind of contradicts E4.
Well, on E4, a responsible party has a broader definition. So responsible party can be a person, firm, corporation, or other entity. So it's possible that in some incidents you could have more than one responsible party.
Like, okay, so 2 different insurance companies, maybe 2 drivers or something?
Potentially, yeah. Or you could have a bad actor in an insurance company.
All right, I'm going to keep working around the table here. Ms. Wethel, you got a question?
So I'll just follow up on that. So for instance, if somebody has Medicare and then they have a secondary insurance, that would be an example in which that item would make sense. Is that true?
Potentially. So like if you think about personal insurance, people oftentimes carry homeowners or automobile insurance, and then they carry like an umbrella carrier. So in the case here where we could be talking about non-medical, like emergency response.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So you could, let's say there was limited amount of coverage for X, an umbrella could kick in above and beyond that, like an umbrella policy. Potentially. It's one example anyway.
Okay. May I follow that a little bit more? And so maybe an example would be if there were 2 insurances that were being billed for separate reasons for liability for an incident, then one would be maybe the primary, and then the secondary would potentially take the responsibility for the additional fees that were not covered by the primary insurance coverage provider. Is that a realistic way to look at it?
Yes.
So I'm trying to think of a good example here. Think you've got a car accident where somebody ran a stop sign, but somebody else was driving and was on their cell phone. Both would be in the wrong there. Both would be in violation of the law. We have to respond. We have to clean up vehicles. The fire department cleans up fluids. They have to, appear on scene, kind of a thing. We're likely going to bill both in that scenario. So one person may be more responsible for the accident by running a stop sign, but the other one may have a ticketed violation as well. Both would be responsible for use of our services potentially there. So we would likely bill both insurance companies.
Chief Scheller, have you, where you have worked before, is this a process, I believe, that you have shared in the past you were familiar with before you came to the city of Dubuque? And in all honesty, there has been money left on the table that was not recovered in the past that we are now trying to recover from insurance providers that would be appropriately billed. And so my impression is that the hope is that we are now going to recover what is eligible for cost recovery when in the past we were not doing so. This language, I understand, is in question for some as far as legality-wise. I'm not a lawyer, but I sure listen to the lawyers who are on staff as far as liability. I would prefer that folks not have balanced billing. And so I don't know how we work that into or out of an ordinance.
When I said balanced billing, I may not be using the right terminology.
Okay.
So let me just put that out there. The other thing I would say is if there are pieces of this that you have questions about or would like us to do some more research on, we would be happy to do that and report back. This just comes out of the recommendation and the best practice from the consultants and using information that they have provided based on their experience across a number of agencies and collections and things like that. So if there were specific questions, we certainly could go back and take a look at specific provisions and flush those out some more.
I absolutely think that this is a great idea. I do believe as our council is responsible for passing this ordinance, I think I would appreciate a little bit more information because I do not want folks to be placed in a position of balanced billing is also referred to as surprise billing. And I don't want the residents or guests of Dubuque to be put in a place that is the situation. This is for appropriate cost recovery. I'm in agreement with that. But I would appreciate maybe more information, reflection on the ordinance as it's written now. I understand that it's used by other communities, but it sounds like maybe there could be a little bit more information provided to us. I'd appreciate that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be bringing the actual vendor next council meeting, so we can partner the two. It's what comes first, the chicken or the egg, so do you do the ordinance and then confirm that vendor? And so, yeah, we can certainly do that.
I had one more.
Hang on, Mr. Staver. I'm going to let Mr. Leindecker go first.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. And I agree with discussion, dialogues going on for the balanced billing and things of that nature. And the one, my memory is maybe similar to Mr. Staver's in regards to when this was first discussed and passed, is that it was to have appropriately funds reimbursed from insurance companies and not necessarily come from individuals. And the thought I have on my mind is that if, and I know I had this thought when it was first passed and discussed, is that if there's individuals that are worried about submitting to insurance or that don't have insurance, do they try to take care of the matters themselves versus calling for appropriate services to mitigate or to alleviate any additional costs or burden and things of that nature? And so that's what's on my mind as we think about and talk about this. So I think some more dialogue and discussion on this would be very helpful.
Yeah, one piece that's important to know as well is the fire department responds, we collect that information. So that if there's no insurance information to collect, the billing company can't bill. They're not going to chase that down. So majority of people have insurance, it's the law, but we do understand and we're empathetic to those individuals that don't. So that was one safeguard as well, is that if it's not available, we're not in the business to chase that information down. We're going to move on.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Staver, go ahead.
So in the past, at the other departments where you use this cost recovery system, were you directly involved in the billing type of thing, or?
Third party. So again, there was the branch of EMS billing, which is a specialized third party, and then fire cost recovery, and this was 10 or 15 years ago that was implemented where I was from.
Okay,
Yeah.
so were there, I guess, and they did the same sort of thing where they didn't charge the taxpayer, just trying to get, the money that they can from the insurance companies?
Yep.
Do you remember any event where they did try to collect from an individual or anything like that?
I remember back then, there were a lot of questions as well. People were concerned, they thought that this was something that they had to pay as a supplement to, their tax dollars. But Councilwoman Wethel, you explained it perfectly. The questions that I always have is that I should have probably brought this a little sooner, to regain those fees associated with the insurance on cost recovery. It was perfect timing as far as that support of the firefighters in that three-prong approach.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? Mr. Sprink, go ahead.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around, because I think a lot of folks are concerned that, say they need an ambulance because they're having a heart attack, they're going to get a bill. But going back through your memo, it's for motor vehicle accidents, hazardous material incidents, vehicle fire, so your car's on fire. But I do have a question. What would specialized rescue responses entail? Would that be like using something on the river or something to that
It could
effect?
be river, but let's think technical rescue. We've had incidents where people have been trapped below ground, above ground. The hazardous material billing, we already bill for. So that's something that we've been doing without issue for years. So it's just, adding the components and making sure that you're transparent in that ordinance, which is a lot of language. So it comes under scrutiny in review, which is fine.
So I guess, but then the last thing is other eligible emergency mitigation activities where recovery from a responsible party or insurer is permitted. What type of accident would that be?
Those are ones that we didn't identify. So a great example is at the federal level in FEMA. So there's states that get hit by hurricanes, and there's states that get hit by tornadoes. And so the billing mechanism in those large Stafford Grant Act type activities comes under a FEMA schedule. So FEMA actually has something very similar that says, listen, one fire engine will cost you this much, and a hazardous material truck will cost you this much, even so much to go into public works on backhoes and tree clearing activities. They're very detailed, so it's a very similar approach, but this is just at the local level, so it just covers that portion.
Okay. So, but just to clarify, we need to call 911, you need an ambulance for a medical reason, we're not billing for that.
It falls under the ambulance billing, yeah,
Gotcha.
so that's a cost recovery portion, but I know people will say, I'm not gonna call. No, call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We have a lot of questions. That's my summary. I think that's okay. This is new for us. We discussed the fact that this was new for us when we first talked about it back in October. We got 2 new members since that time, so there's more questions from new perspectives right now. I do think it would make sense for us to do this, and I would suggest that we postpone for the next meeting and bring it back the next meeting to be able to discuss about this. I don't want to delay things too long because we do want to get this moving to be able to have a process in place that allows us to follow the plan that we have laid out, which is entirely about making sure that we're recovering the costs that we have for the services that we're offering, and then with that cost recovery, being able to accomplish that goal of adding more firefighters to the force, because that is the goal in the end here. But it also is the goal to make sure that if there's if there is a cost recovery mechanism that we can use, that we should be using it. I will say, though, the one thing that did give me pause as I was reading through this is the same thing that's been mentioned by several members already, in that we did talk about not billing people personally for these services. We talked about billing insurance, and then not, for lack of a better term here, not chasing people down for the extra money.
Right.
Surprise billing, as Ms. Wethel pointed out. I do think that, I think I'm hearing that that's important to us here. So I guess one of my questions that I want answered when you bring this back to us is, why is that language in here, and why was it suggested by the consultant that you're working with, if the intent is to not do that? Is there a reason, a legal reason, that we need to have that language there for some sort of a backstop, like it's going to make it hard to even bill insurance, whatever that is? If there's a reason that is the case, then I'd consider voting for that, knowing that the policy that you are going to put forth is going to be to not do that practice. I hope that makes sense in what I just said out loud. Krenna's shaking her head. That's kind of all I need, is just that for her office to look at that. So, because sometimes there is a legal reason why something needs to be said. There needs to be something in an ordinance, and it might not be exactly what we want to do, but it has to be there for some reason. And I'd like to know if that's the case. But I do want to make sure that whatever we do here, we're clear on it, and we're confident that in what we're voting for, and that we are able to explain it to the public. I think that everybody in Dubuque needs to be able to understand this, and if we're asked that question as a council member, we need to be able to say clearly why we're doing this and what we're doing. And we don't have that answer yet. I don't feel that confidence at the desk right now. So does that make sense? Am I wrong about any of this? Okay. All right. I'm generally seeing heads shaking. So I think, do you have any other questions for us, Krenna, in anything that you would need? How about you, Chief? Do you have any?
No questions.
Council? Okay. Yeah. And this is all recorded, so we can all go back and review this. But I do think that there are some specific questions in here that we can get more answers to. But I would invite, Ms. Wethel, you made the original motion here and it was to receive and file and waive the 3 readings. I think maybe a motion to postpone to the next meeting on June 1st. Please, Krenna.
Well, I was just going to say to receive and file and bring back June 1st with additional information or updates.
Okay. So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Wethel.
I would like to receive and file and bring back to our meeting on June 1st to revisit the ordinance.
Second by Sprank.
Okay. We've got a motion by Wethel and a second by Sprank. Krenna is shaking her head in the affirmative, showing that that is a motion that will work. So we'll revisit this again at our next meeting. Okay, excellent. Trish, if you could call the roll, please.
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0. Thanks for that discussion, everybody.
Action item number 7, relocate taxiway A, combined construction phase 4 and phase 6.
Mr. Mayor,
Roussel.
I move to receive and file and approve.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Roussel and a second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Airport Director Todd Dalsing is recommending City Council approval to concur with the FAA recommendation to combine Phase 6 with Phase 4 and continued multi-year efforts to reconstruct Taxiway A. Phase 4 includes reconstruction of portion of Taxiway A3, constructing Taxiway B3 and entry Taxiway A4, and relocating approximately 1,500 linear feet of mainline Taxiway A. This phase was approved as part of the fiscal year 2026 capital improvement program budget by the City Council. Phase 5 includes connecting Phase 4 and Phase 2 with connection to the general aviation apron. This phase was approved as part of the fiscal year 2027 capital improvement program by the City Council. Phase 6 provides critical safety and functional purpose, separating University of Dubuque training aircraft from commercial and general aviation aircraft operations departing Dubuque Runway 31. This phase was planned to be submitted as part of the fiscal year 2028 capital improvement program. As described during the April 21 City Council budget presentation, funding for Phase 6 is pending emplanements in calendar year 2026 to be eligible for the Federal Aviation Administration AIP program. On April 22nd, 2026, Dubuque staff and airport engineer Foth met with the FAA Central Region Planner Joshua Peters and engineer Ryan Demetz. The FAA announced they have identified $2 million in supplemental discretionary federal funds available and proposed combining Phase 6 with Phase 4. Combining Phase 6 with Phase 4 will be eligible for federal AIP funds at 95% federal, 5% local match. To combine Phase 4 and Phase 6 into one project per the FAA recommendation, the airport will utilize savings identified in the fiscal year 2027 local funds, originally budgeted at 90% federal, 10% local, and retain remaining budgeted amount for Phase 5 pending bids in fiscal year 2027. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? Not seeing any. We're hearing Mr. Staver. Yeah.
So just making sure I understood. So by combining the two, they all fall under that same funding discount or whatever you want to call it?
Right. I'm going to let Todd Dawson, the airport director, come up and explain it, but.
Todd Dulsing, Dubuque Airport Director. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your full question.
Well, I was just asking, so if I understand, we're getting money to pay for both projects at a 95%?
Yeah. So
savings?
essentially, it's two separate grants. There's one grant that we've already received for Phase 4, and the FAA, as city manager just advised, that they had identified additional supplemental discretionary funds of $2 million. And that's for a separate grant. They're proposing to combine those two into one project. And as city manager just advised, we were able to locate the 5% match in the 2027 funds, because we originally budgeted that project at 90-10, so 90% federally funded, 10% local. But that project is eligible for 95-5. So that 5% that the federal is picking up, those were funds that we can identify for a local match for this new grant, I guess, if you will, this $2 million.
So what's our total commitment on both projects?
So for Phase 4 and 6, are of the $10 million of that project, it'll be $437,000. That's 5% match. And then the final phase, which would be Phase 5, would be, actually, it's even a decrease. So that would be a total for just about an $8 million project. The 5% on that is, it's $700,000 is what we have budgeted, but that's with a little extra from the funding that we identified for this grant. And it's all pending bids, of course.
Oh, that's a good deal.
That's engineers' estimates, yeah. Yeah, 5 cents on the dollar is not bad. For a project that's needed. It's the pavement's been identified as failed or failing.
That's all in front of the
General aviation,
yeah.
the east side of the airfield, basically the full length. So you have to taxi on that to get to any runway at the airport.
all the hangars there.
All of the general aviation hangars, corporate hangars, Dubuque Jet Center. Yep, exactly.
That's a great deal.
A lot of our events, et cetera.
Well, congratulations. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Not seeing any. All right, Todd, thank you very much for answering questions. Appreciate that. All right, motion here is to receive and file and approve. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Action item number 8 is request for qualifications, RFQ, for fire headquarters bunk room remodel consultant.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Wethel.
I move to receive and file and approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Wethel, second by Roussel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Fire Chief Amy Scheller is recommending City Council approval for the fire department to proceed with selection of FEH Design as a consultant for the fire headquarters bunkroom and bathroom remodel project, and to finalize the necessary professional services agreement and grant authorization to the city manager to sign the notice to proceed. FEH Design demonstrated strong qualifications, relevant fire station experience, local presence, schedule capability, and the ability to meet the city's project expectations at a reasonable and supportable cost. Approval at this time will allow the project to proceed immediately and maintain momentum toward timely completion of construction documents and subsequent bidding. The anticipated professional services cost is estimated to be between $42,094.36 and $46,303.79. Funding for this project is available within project account, which is currently has an approximate remaining balance of $828,645. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion? Not seeing any or hearing any. All right, Mr. Staver.
So this is to design the main bathroom? No?
Amy Scheller, Dubuque Fire. This is for the bunk rooms upstairs. So we're rolling right from the HVAC project into, if you've toured the fire station, there were just 2 large rooms. We're going to create 12 individual bunk room spaces and 4 bathroom spaces.
Bathrooms within those bunk rooms?
No, there'll be 4, kind of where the bathrooms are now, but there'll be individual lockable private bathrooms. So we have a male and a female bathroom space, and they'll just convert them.
And this is for the design portion of that?
Correct.
Okay.
And the bidding. Yeah.
And the bidding?
For the construction services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I know that this is a project that's been very desired at the fire department, so really looking forward to being able to move this one forward and keep on moving forward. So thank you for bringing it. All right, motion here is to receive and file and approve. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Brussel. Aye. Staver.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leindecker.
Going to abstain?
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes with 5 ayes and 1 abstention.
Moving on to council member reports.
What reports do we have? Ms. Roussel.
Thanks. I was able to attend both the kickoff and the wrap-up with the fire department and accreditation team, and it was great to hear positive comments about our fire department and ideas to make it even better. I was so pleased to be able to be there. I was happy to attend the employee appreciation breakfast and see all of our wonderful staff. I attended meetings with Dubuque Forward, Friends of Dubuque Parks, Dubuque Main Street, the mission team at my church, and I also planted a few trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wethel.
Many of us attended the May 7th Employee Recognition Breakfast, which was a great gathering and a wonderful opportunity to acknowledge the incredible staff of the city of Dubuque. This past Saturday, we did a Saturday morning tour of Dubuque Metropolitan Area Solid Waste Agency, of providing a tour for our state legislative delegation. Councilmember Resnick, myself were there in addition to Supervisor Harley Potoff. The 3 of us sit on the Dubuque Metropolitan Area Solid Waste Agency Board. And so we shared the present capacity, our goals for the future regarding solid waste management. And then attended after that Indigenous Heritage Celebration at the MFC. They did a fantastic job. What a great, vibrant community of folks gathering for that. Hats off to them.
Mr. Landick.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. This past week, I had the opportunity to attend a cookout for the Boys and Girls Club, which was just a great experience overall. Served over 200 meals to them for their dinner, which was awesome. So also last week was able to participate in the announcement out at the Field of Dreams. Very exciting. I know Mayor Kavanaugh was there as well. So exciting stuff going on out there, and the construction is near completion. So that'll be a great amenity for us in Dubuque and overall for Dubuque County. And then also had a meeting with Dubuque Ford and some of the exciting stuff that they're working on as it relates to the generational projects that we are underway, one of those being the Field of Dreams and others. So it's been good couple weeks.
Thank you. Any others? Mr. Sprank?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since our last meeting, had 2 neighborhood association meetings. Also attended the City of Dubuque Employee Recognition Breakfast, which was a nice time to say thank you to all of our staff. My nonprofit did safe zone training in conjunction with some of the City of Dubuque's ERP folks. So that was a good day to learn a lot of stuff. And then, yeah, just looking forward to what's all coming up this summer. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything, Mr. Staver? Not tonight? Well, it's breakfast season. So employee breakfast, which was super fun. It's always great seeing so many employees in one place. Just to be able to say thank you to people face to face is really something I appreciate every year. Travel Dubuque breakfast, talking about travel and hospitality in Dubuque. Always an exciting time talking about the major things going on there. GDDC Workforce Solutions breakfast. That was a good one, but also talked about some challenges. You know, we need to make sure that we continue to recruit people to the community and continue to, we talk about it a lot, increase our population, especially when it comes to our workforce and our working age population. So making sure that we keep that focus. Really enjoyed the Indigenous Heritage Celebration on Saturday. Had the honor of reading a proclamation and presenting a blanket to the elder of the Meskwaki tribe who attended. That was it was definitely an honor to be able to do that, and I was very thankful that they folks that were from the Meskwaki Nation were able to join us that day. Field of Dreams, it's gonna be so cool. I mean, it's just gonna be so cool out there, and when you get an opportunity, I really do hope that everybody gets a chance to go out and find their way to that stadium at some point. With a minor league team coming from the Northwoods League, we're going to have lots of opportunities to do that, along with lots of high school teams playing this year. Super cool opportunity and great to be out there just sitting there. I lose my words every time I go. It just is one of those projects where you're speechless, and I love that about it. One other thing that was super fun was the Hills and Dales mural on 4th Street that was painted on Saturday. They somehow made it through the weather. I'm not sure how, but they found a window to paint just a beautiful, bright mural that was painted by people of all abilities. And it was just so much fun to watch that day. I was working down there that day and able to just be there watching it go on. It was a great party atmosphere, and it's a great addition to Cable Car Square, so thank you for that and everybody involved. And then the final thing I'll say is it's graduation season, so congratulations to every graduate at the high school and college level, middle school level, elementary school, preschool. Congratulations, graduates. I'm really looking forward to the next chapter in your life, and we're looking forward to sharing that with you here in Dubuque. All right, we have a closed session. I will take a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Wethel.
I move to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation and purchase or sale of real estate under Chapter 21.51CJ under the Code of Iowa.
Second by Leindecker.
Got a motion by Wethel and a second by Leindecker. For the record, the attorney the City Council will consult with on the issues to be discussed in closed session is City Attorney Krenna Brumwell. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Roussel.
Aye.
Staver. Aye. Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Leyendecker.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0. We are in closed session.